Welcome back. This is Walter Amarillo in the Alchemist Nation podcast. I'm hanging out with my new friend, Hoan. Hoan, you got a middle name that is so badass. Why don't you bring us into what you used to say about yourself?
All right, all right. So the middle name that I created, right, is Houdini. So that goes Hone Houdini Tai, helping you escape your 9 to 5.
I love it. So you said Hoan like loan. I gotta grasp and guess that you got some sort of mortgage background or lending background of some sort.
It's funny because I created the name after I had some lending background. So now I have Hones Loans. So if you want to contact me, go to hone at honesloans.com.
I love it. So usually at some point in the podcast, I'm like, hey, by the way, like, how do people contact you? And normally, people on the podcast get just shocked. They're like, really? I'm not really phone number. No, don't give up the phone number. that's not the right direction. So Hoans
Right.
Loans spelled literally just loan with an H.
Yes.
Hoansloans.com.
Honesloans.com. Yeah. Hone at honesloans.com works. If you want to get in touch with me, I can put it right there on the screen if you want. There you go. Hone at
Look at that.
honesloans.com.
I
Yep.
gotta know how you do that. Now, okay, we're gonna do a class right after this.
Oh,
How
after,
you
after this,
transpose?
I'm not going to be sharing my secrets with everybody. Just
All
you.
right. So for $9.99, you can buy this course, run to the back of the
Abs-
room.
absolutely. Tons of courses available if you're interested.
So, Hoan, how did you get into real estate? How did you decide you wanted loans, but do you also invest yourself on the side?
Oh, absolutely. So investing is my main business. And then as I became a better and better investor, people reached out to me and they're like, Hone, I want to be an investor just like you, right? And I was like, okay. And so I'd help people here and there just informally. And then I figured, let me do it formally. So now I help people formally become real estate investors. I have education programs and things like that to show them step by step on how to become a real estate investor. When I say real, I mean like there are people who bought a house and then they decided to move and they're like, oh, you know what? I'm going to rent this house out. And then they kind of, they just stumbled upon becoming a landlord. And that's, I mean, you're technically a landlord, but you didn't do it intentionally. So what I do is I show people how to buy properties intentionally, how to analyze the property, how to look at your cash on cash return, how to look at the ROI, how to determine whether you're overpaying, underpaying, all that kind of stuff, right? Have actual analysis, not just buy a house that you wanted to live in and then like decide to rent it out later. So I became an educator after becoming an actual investor myself. And I became an investor myself because, of course, like everybody else, rich dad, poor dad. You like,
Nice.
we've never even spoke, and I'm sure you already knew that answer,
Of
right?
course.
So, rich dad, poor dad was the one that did it for me. Passive income, learning about passive income, and then being able to acquire assets that pay for my liabilities. Like, that's the formula. And the beautiful thing about real estate is that there's a structure, there's a formula.
Yep.
And I've done other businesses. You might have done other businesses too. Like, let's say if you were in elementary school, you were like, okay, I'm going to go to the store and buy candy and then I'm going to sell it for my locker. Now, that's technically a business, right? But it's so labor intensive that it's not a real structured business. Whereas with real estate, it can be as hands on or as hands off as you want it to be. That's what
Right.
I like about it. That's what I like about it. But I am not one of these guys who are like, oh my God, I love real estate. I always tell people I hate real estate. There's nothing to like, there's nothing to love. It's
Yep.
like bricks. It's somebody else's house now. Somebody else lives in there. Like, I don't care.
Yep.
I do it for the money. I do it.
100%.
I do it for
Yeah.
the money.
You're real about it. So you've got an awareness of yourself. You figured it out. You understand that this is something that makes good money and you're just doing it because it pays and it makes
That's
sense
it.
to do it. I love that because, like, yes, do I love making money? Of course. Do I love the challenge of real estate? Yes, I will do it all day. But when it comes down to the actual properties themselves, I have no emotional attachment. I don't
Right.
care, about the real estate. So you got into it. What There was a point in your life where you said, "Hey, I've got to start making money." What was that point? What changed things for you?
Well, it was being at my corporate job. I have an engineering background, so I have a mechanical engineering degree. I have a master's in financial engineering. I was working in corporate America, and I was just like, "Is this it? Am I done? Like this for the next 30 plus years?" The thing that really kind of scared me, right, is I was at work. I was at work, and my boss, he threatened me, and I was just like, "Whoa, hold on, hold on." So he threatened me. He said, "Hoan, if you keep working as hard as you are, one day you will have this job." And I was like, "Whoa, no, I don't want none of that." Right?
Holy shit! Like, there's no winning here.
There's no winning. There's no the threat was a promotion.
Yeah.
And in all honesty, I didn't want one. And that's how I knew like this is not for me. Because every
Yeah.
time I would look at my boss, I would be like, do I want that life? Do I want what
Right.
he has? Do I want those responsibilities? And the answer was always no.
Right.
And since and then since it was always no, then it was kind of like why would I continue to work hard in this situation, right? Why would I continue to just keep on working hard? And
Yeah.
so I decided like I got to figure out my plan B. I got to figure out how to get out of here.
And
Yeah.
so what was it that connected you? Who gave you Rich Dad Poor Dad? How did you come across the book? You know, some people get it, some people buy it, but a lot of people it's given as a gift. What was your connection to the book? How'd you find it?
Yeah, so that one's a fun story, right? So I met a girl and
Every
she
good story starts this way. Awesome.
yeah, I met a girl and she said that she was reading this book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was trying to get with the girl, of course, right? So I tell her, I was like, oh, I actually think I have that book, right? And I went home and it turns out I didn't have the book. So I was like, uh-oh, I'm gonna be a fraud. So let me go get the book and let me read the book because she had already started. But once I picked the book up, I couldn't stop. I couldn't read it, or I couldn't stop reading it. And then I finished it within, I don't know, a day or two. And I was just like, wow. And that's what changed everything. So because she was reading that book, that caused me to buy the book. And then that caused me to become a real estate investor. Like that was it. That was the life-changing moment.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've not, I've not run across that one as a story. And, but I do think that a lot of people do probably do stuff like that because of a spouse. And so you could be a
Yeah.
good influence. If you're out there serial dating, make sure you're serial throwing out that book to people.
Right. Right. And
So
then
phenomenal.
yeah, fast forward and now we're
Yeah.
married and she's a real estate agent now. And because
Nice.
she was an engineer as well.
Yep.
And the same thing, the job scene wasn't for her. And now we're both self-employed
Yep.
and we work together, whether that's good or bad. We work together. And
Yeah.
yeah, we're married. We have our real estate portfolio that we're growing and it's cool. It's cool. So
Nice. So your
yeah.
real estate portfolio, what is that made up of? And by the way, congratulations on that book. Like, I guess that's a good way to date, right? Well, you read this, and if we have a similar mindset, we'll probably stick together. So phenomenal. But how did you how many units are you up to? What's the portfolio look like? And what do you
Yeah.
like about it? What do you not like about it?
So my portfolio is mainly single family and smaller multifamily. I actually started my career with a 6 unit apartment building. Like that was my very first one.
Went big.
And yeah, and it was kind of like, hey, Hoan, do you want to buy this? And I was just like, don't people usually start with a smaller, smaller
Right.
property? Right. And then, but the cool part was I had gone to a seminar and this is how I learned how to become a real estate investor. I went to a seminar because for 2 years, after reading the book, for 2 years, I tried to become a real estate investor and
Yep.
it didn't work. I would pull one of these things. I'd pick up the phone, I'd call and I'd say, hey, to a real estate agent, right? I said, hey, send me your best deals.
Yeah.
Send me really good deals, right? Send me really good deals.
Yeah.
What do you think was the problem with that question? Send me good deals.
They don't know what a good deal is, and
Correct.
they don't have deals to begin with. So,
Right. So those were both problems, right? And then the other
yep.
problem, I didn't know what a good deal was.
Right.
Right. So I didn't
Nope.
know what a good deal was, and neither did he. So it was the blind leading the blind. Now, as any good real estate investor or agent, you just send whatever.
Yeah.
Send something. Send something.
MLS. Here you go. Here's
There you go.
access to the MLS.
Here's a list of 400 good properties.
Yep.
Okay. So I looked through the list and we walked through a couple. We walked through a
Yep.
couple. And at the end of it, he says every single time, oh, this is a good one. You should put an offer in. Okay. Oh, so we're 3 for 3, huh? No bad
They're
ones.
all good, Hoan. They're all good.
That was the red flag that
And what
caused
year
me to
was this?
pause.
How long ago was this?
2000. So I read the book in 2009. So
Oh
from
wow.
2009 until 2011 was this hunt for a property.
Yeah.
He not knowing anything, me not knowing anything, right? So 2 years I wasted trying to find a property. And then in 2011, I went to my first real estate seminar because once you get like kicked around enough, you're just like somebody has to have the answer, right?
Yeah.
So I went to the at first I went to the Rich Dad seminar, obviously, like they get on the radio, hey, we got free seminars, come to your town, whatever. So I went and I bought their weekend one for $500, I remember. And I sat there and I was like, oh, these are cool concepts, right? But I'm still left like with big questions, big gaps in my knowledge. And I was like,
Yeah.
I don't got enough. I don't have enough yet. So then I, by chance, I met with a investor who was teaching a seminar. And so he was like, hey, I got this seminar coming up. You should go. I was like, absolutely. I'll be there. What do I got to lose, right? I'm not moving ahead.
Right.
So if he's got this, if he has this seminar that could possibly get me just one nugget that moves me forward, it's worth everything.
Right.
So I went to the seminar and it gave me all the nuggets to move forward. It gave me everything. It gave
Yeah.
me the resources. He's even the one who gave me the deal. He was like, "Hey, do you want to buy this?" And I was like, don't people usually start smaller?" And he was like, "Well, here's this. This is what I
Yeah.
got." So I did the analysis that I learned from the seminar, right? I did the
Wow.
analysis and I did it over and over. And I tried to kill the deal because my fear was so loud. It was just like, Hoan, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to fail. Don't do it. Like, be scared. You're supposed to be scared. And I was like, I am scared.
Right. You're doing a good job, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Right. So that was very scary. And
Yeah.
then I said, okay, what am I scared of? So I turned on the logical side really loud and I was just like, okay, what am I specifically scared of? And the only thing that you're potentially scared of is losing money.
Right.
I said, okay, fine. If that's what I'm afraid of, then where are the potential pitfalls of losing money? Like, where can I lose money? Okay. If the property doesn't appraise right, I won't be able to refinance for enough. Okay. So let me test it with a lower and lower and lower ARV. So
Right.
I would cut it down 10,000, rerun the numbers, cut it down another 10,000, rerun the numbers. I'm like, okay, I got to be pretty wrong about this ARV to lose any money. So
Yeah.
so far so good. Where else can I lose money? Okay, if the 6 units don't rent for what I need it to rent for, at some point it will rent. So if I had a unit listed for 850 and everybody said no, then what about at 800? What about 750? At 700? At some point, somebody's going to say yes,
Right.
right? So I just turned the dials, reran the numbers, lowering the rental over and over and over. And I had to be pretty wrong in order for this thing to not work. And then finally, the rehab. So if the rehab went over budget, again, just crank that dial and rerun the numbers. And so that was it. ARV, rental income, and the rehab. And I just kept cranking those numbers and kept putting them in through the Excel sheet, and it just kept working. And I was like, the only reason why this would be a no is because I'm being a little punk. That's it. There's no mathematical reason
Right.
why I shouldn't do this. It was just that I would just be a punk. And so from that point forward, I created this little philosophy
Yeah.
that has been driving my life ever since. It is fire, aim, ready.
Yep.
Okay, fire, aim, ready, and there's different variations of it. Some people say like fire, ready, aim, or something, right? But
Yeah.
mine was just fire, aim, ready, and the reason it is in that order is in order to be able to correct yourself and improve, you need to have something you're correcting,
Right.
right? And so if I never take the shot, if I never fire,
Yeah.
then there's no correcting anything. So I need to fire. And then once I fire, then I can course correct. Then I can improve on my mistakes. So that's the aim part. And once you aim, 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 now you're ready.
Exactly.
Right now you're ready. So a lot of people get stuck at ready, aim, 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 and they never fire.
Yeah. There's not even, they stop at ready, right? Most people stop at ready.
Absolutely.
It's analysis paralysis. Before you, it's not even like looking at the deal. Like they won't even go analyze the deal. They just
Right.
get scared and stopped. What do you do to pull people out of that? What is one of the things that you've found? Is it that process that you just went through? Is it just go and actually analyze the deal and then you'll know?
Well, it depends. It depends on the person, right? So there are different personalities. There are people who are introverted, extroverted, some people who are driven by money and lifestyle, other people who are driven by analytics and intelligence and knowledge. Other people are driven by how it's going to affect the people in their life, like how their community, their family, how they will respond to it. Some people do it for self-validation, like whether they have confidence or not. So really, it just depends on who you're talking to and what tools you use to pull them out of their own funk and out of their own way. So
Right.
that's what I've learned as an educator, and as I'm training people and dealing with hundreds and then thousands of people over the years, it's the same pattern over and over. There are personality traits that everybody has.
Yep.
You have to talk to them the way they want to be spoken to.
Yeah.
If you talk to them based on what drives you, that does not necessarily work unless they are like you.
Right.
If they are different and you talk to them the way you want to be spoken to, it doesn't work. So you have to see what moves them. And if somebody isn't driven by money and you're like, "Oh, look at the car you can buy and look at the lifestyle you can have," and they're like, "I don't care."
Right.
Like if they're more of somebody who cares for their community and you're like, "Look, with this money you can donate to your church, or you can donate to the local animal shelter, or whatever it is," right? It's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. So you got to figure out what moves people, and
Oh,
for me that
hold
was
on.
it.
I gotta ask a question. Two things. So it sounds like you use personality assessments. What is your favorite? What do you rely on? And what would you say there are more of in the world from your experience?
So the most powerful one, personality one, that I've been kind of going off of is this one by a guy named Woody Woodward, and it's called the Drive System. So Drive is an acronym, DRIVE. D stands for director, R stands for relator, I stands for intellect, V is validator, and E is executive. And each one of those has a different desire. So director is all about lifestyle, cars, trips, things like that. Relator is all about the community aspect of it. How does it affect them, their family, and the people around them? Intellect, that person cares about the details. It's like, okay, tell me, Hoan, what is the tax rate of FICA, and how does a self-directed retirement account work, and what's the interest rate that I can charge? Stuff like that. A validator, that one's an interesting one. That is about, I want to say it's about them living up to their potential. Like it's all about them trying to prove to themselves that they are great. And it's this everlasting chase. They're trying to validate their existence, right?
Right.
And then executive, that's all about how whether it works. Like prove to me it works, show me the numbers, like what are the results that you got? Okay, so
Right.
you're saying that this program works, okay, cool. Or you're saying like I should invest in real estate. Okay, why should I invest in real estate over, say, stocks or options or this or that? What's the proof? What's the numbers? So that's
Right.
an executive. So depending on who you're talking to, based on those 5 personality traits, you get to talk to them the way they want to be spoken to.
And it's interesting because you spent a lot of time with this. You can probably do this in quick conversations. That I and the E sound very similar, except I is more information for information's sake, and E is information with a purpose behind it. It seems like there
Results,
must be
correct.
results.
Yeah, yeah. So the
Interesting.
I's and E's can be very similar. The difference is, I guess, to make it extreme. An I would be Damon John from Shark Tank. He wants to know about the manufacturing process and things like that, right? And then you got Kevin O'Leary, who is the executive, and he's like, "Show me the numbers." And he's like, "How much did you make? And what's your revenue? And this and that." So
Right.
intellect is maybe more about processes, and then executive is more about the result of the
Right.
process.
I like that. And so you'd say the V, if you go to Shark Tank, do you have a on the Shark Tank who hits the V?
Uh, it Mark Cuban,
Mm.
Mark Cuban.
Makes sense. High ego, really good guy, but high ego, always looking to, okay, it makes
Yep,
sense.
yep. Validator, Mr. Popular, right? He like his biggest
Yep.
investment was in a club or party app
Yep.
or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and he owns
So
the Dallas Mavericks or whatever they are.
exactly
Yeah.
right. So he's like all about the parties and all about like being the center of the party.
Yep.
So validator. The director, lifestyle would be Robert Herjavec, because if you ever see his intro, he's got like the Rolls Royce with the doors that open up the other way, and that his is all about lifestyle.
Yep.
And then Lori Grenier, she's a relator. She's all about like creating
Right.
community. And then if you ever see like her promotions, they're all about let me get your product in Bed Bath and Beyond, and then let's have a Bed Bath and Beyond unveiling of all of your products. Like let's have a big party and launch, and like let's do this together kind of thing.
Yep. Yep. Let's get the family together. Let's get the community together.
Exactly.
Fascinating. I've never heard of Drive, but you just in a short little essence, you kind of gave us what it is. So obviously, this is something you use a lot in your teaching, and so very valuable for people to learn and be able to move forward. Because especially if they're working with sellers or say they're an agent working with buyers, being able to read your client is so imperative to be able to move them forward. So you're not losing those appointments, right? Like you go on an appointment and you see all the checkpoints that this person wants to sell, and then they don't work with you. Well, it's because
Right.
you didn't build rapport well enough, like using a system like this.
Exactly. So that's perfect, because there are classes: drive for sales, drive for communication, drive for development, drive for anything, right?
Yeah.
And sales is a big one, because it's all about how you communicate with your client so that they know and have certainty that your product is the right product for them. If you've ever followed Jordan Belfort,
Oh yeah.
the Wolf of Wall Street,
Yep.
he's got his own training program,
Yep.
Straight Line Persuasion, I believe it's called.
Yep.
And he says that the line, there's like a water line, and people start off under the water line and they're at a no underneath the water line. As soon as they pass the water line, then it becomes uh, a yes. Right after the water line, it becomes a yes. So while the person's underwater and it's a no, what you're doing is you're increasing their level of certainty about you and about the product that you're pitching to them. Just because it's a no, it doesn't mean you're not making any progress. It's just the no's go a little higher, a little higher, a little higher, closer and closer and closer to the water line.
Right.
So the no's actually are just not yet, not
Yeah.
yet, not yet, not yet. I'm still listening for you to build up the rapport. I'm still listening for you to build up my certainty in
Right.
your product. So if you can learn about how to talk to them in their language, in their drive language, then you can get them over that water line
Yep.
to the certainty and saying yes.
Yeah, that's powerful. And so you do that with your students. It's the same thing. You're selling the concept of success. You're selling the concept of go buy a property, take action. And so being able to get into their heads in a way that they'll understand and appreciate you, it actually helps you move them forward. I think that's how all this came about, was how you actually pull people and move them forward. So uh, really powerful. Hone, we're diving into this and going to a lot of different stuff, but for somebody to reach out to you again, what was the website? How to get somebody find out how to move forward, learn all the training, where the money is, how to get the deal. What was that website again?
So if somebody wants to learn more about my trainings and things like that, they can go to truthaboutrei.com. So REI, real estate investing, right? Truthaboutrei.com. They can go there and stay connected. Also, if you guys want to email me, Hoan, that's Hoan, Hoan at hoansloans.com, right? That's plural, Hoans,
Yep.
Loans.com, Hoan at hoansloans.com to stay in touch.
Awesome. And then after this, shoot me a text. I'll drop that into YouTube. I'll drop that into the comments of this video, so that anywhere we share, not the comments, I'll put it right in the main text, so that anybody who wants it can find it. So Hone, there is everything is energy. Making money is energy, and it's just currency. And we're just moving to obviously make the world a better place, which is why you teach. Nobody teaches for fun. I mean, it is fun, there's results, but you're doing things to move people forward on some level. So I've got to ask, what if you see yourself 5, 10 years from now, what impact do you see yourself leaving behind?
Well, I guess it's just more of what I'm doing right now. I do actually teach for fun a bit, right? I do
Same
teach for
here.
fun. Yeah, because there's a lot of stuff that I do for free, and it's not all about the money, but if somebody wants a formal process, then there's things that they can buy. I do help a lot of people, and the legacy that I'm leaving behind, I'm already seeing it. People are just like forever grateful that I've been able to show them what real estate investing actually is, and that you don't have to love it, and it's okay to do it for the money. So there's a lot of what I do is I actually just make things okay. Meaning, I give you permission because nobody else has. So this whole idea of escaping your 9 to 5, most of your friends, coworkers, family would think you're crazy. And I will say that if you are set up, it's okay. Like I don't want you to be irresponsible, just quit and not have an income stream.
Right.
But I'm saying that if you have the skills, if you have the actual proof that you're capable of creating money outside of your job,
Yep.
then it's okay to leave your job. The biggest thing, or one of the biggest hurdles that entrepreneurs run into is that they feel like an outsider. They feel so alone in this world. And I don't want them feeling that way.
Right.
So a lot of people gain a lot of comfort by just being within my circle because for a long time they did feel like an outcast. And I'm here to just tell you, it's okay. And by the way, the system as a whole was built for us to kind of struggle if you think about it. Those who work at a 9 to 5 job, they pay the highest in taxes, right? They pay the highest in taxes, and they're paying the ultimate price, which is their time, because
Yep.
you can't get that back. And so how many lives, how many families were, I don't know, I don't want to say it like this, but like if you had more time with your family, I was going to go down a different route, but if
Yeah.
you had more time with your family, would you guys have a better relationship, right? Better than if you were always working and never saw each other. So I think it's important that you figure out how to regain your life, how to regain your time, and so that you can spend it with the people you want to spend it with and in the way that you want to spend it. We only get one shot at this. Now, it seems like life is a very long thing, and it's the longest thing we will ever do, of course,
Right.
but it goes by quickly. And if you look back in the last 5 years, you're like, man, 5 years have already passed. That's bananas. I
Yeah.
was I was sitting with my wife, and I just put an offer into a building yesterday,
Nice.
and I was looking for an agreement of sale to use. And I looked at an old agreement of sale and I was like, hey, babe, do you like, does it feel like when we bought this property that it was in 2017? So, like 3 years ago, we bought a property,
Yep.
and I showed her the agreement of sale that we used for that property. And she's like, oh my God, no, like time flies. And so you have to be super careful that you don't just say that, oh, I'll do it tomorrow in terms of learning how to become an investor, an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Stop saying tomorrow, because 5 years will pass and you're not going to get those back. And it takes time, right? As you know, like becoming an investor, it takes time. You don't develop all these skills overnight. So give yourself the time now. Say, okay, I'm not going to be an investor today, but I'm going to start the process of learning how to become an investor so that I will have all the skills I need so that I can eventually create the money that I need in order to leave my job.
Right.
And I'm going to surround myself with people who are also doing this so that I don't feel like a crazy person for thinking that I can be on my own.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, that's the legacy where people just feel like, you know what, I got this. I do have this.
Oh, and I love that. You're caring, you're empathetic, you went through all the same stuff. And so they say your pain becomes your product, or your pain becomes your way of helping. And so you've experienced it and you've done it with your wife. And so you understand the stresses of real estate. You both do. And you're working together, which is another piece that most people that I see, I'd say 40% of the people who come through our programs would love to see their spouse engaged, would love to see their spouse doing it with them. They envision having their kids work for them, their families work for them, or all working together. And you've actually been able to do that. And obviously she's an agent, you're doing the lending side and you're doing the investment piece together. What
Absolutely.
would you say is the hardest part of doing it with your spouse? What would you say the most difficult thing about real estate investing together? Yeah, that one.
uh,
Pick one. Pick one. Just one.
Uh, um, when you guys don't see eye to eye with something, it follows you. It follows you to dinner. It follows you to lunch. It follows you to bed. It follows you in the morning. It like, and then it follows you like 5 years later. Hey, do you remember that time when you said that? Oh, so there's all of that.
Yeah.
There's that because being being in business with your spouse, I mean, your business partners, and you hear about like business partners not agreeing with certain things and all that kind of stuff. Now, the beauty is with my wife being my business partner, it's not like, oh, am I getting the fair share of equity in this deal or not? It's, I mean, it's 100% both of us,
Right.
so there's no her half, my half, or anything like that. It's what we make. So
Right.
the in terms of that, like there's none of that. I mean, you fight about the littlest things. Like I remember this one fight we had. It's like, do we put a window here or do we just make the window smaller? And it that one lasted for hours.
Yep.
And it was a window for a rental. And it was like, who cares?
It's not gonna pay us anymore. Yeah.
And so that one lasted for a long time. And then just little things like that, right? Just
Yep.
little things. And it does it's because there's this thing that people do in general, and I find that my wife and I do it, and I find other people who argue do it, is that we fight as if everything depends on it. We fight as if
Yep.
everything depends on it. And when I say everything, I mean it feels like life and death because we evolved from cavemen and women, and cavemen and women used to live in tribes, and if you got ousted from the tribe, you're as good as dead, right? You're as good as dead. And so when you're fighting, you feel like your livelihood or your life is on the line, because it's like, okay, if we don't get along, then we're out. And if that person doesn't respect me, then we're out. And if that person thinks I'm, I don't know, just against the tribe, then you're out. Like, so you're
Right.
fighting for your position
Yep.
in the tribe for life. And even though the tribe is small, it's just me and her. Your brain doesn't know the difference.
Right.
And so you got to do a lot of personal development in order to just be okay with that. Well, at least I want to say this. I need to do a lot of personal development. Other people, they're
Yeah.
maybe much more stable mentally than me. So everybody has something, right? Everybody has something. Sometimes people are like, "Oh, I had a broken family growing up," or my family grew up broke, or this or that, right? Everybody has something that they're getting over,
Yeah.
even things that are just internal and mental.
Yeah.
And whatever that thing is that you're dealing with, deal with it and spend as much time as you need on it, but take it seriously because it is everything. Like that's the difference between success and failure. That's the difference between going on and quitting. That's the difference with everything. So for me, I actually have to do a lot of work on my mentality to be the way I am. The way you see me today, the way that I'm presenting myself today,
Yeah.
requires lots and lots of work. Like
Right.
if it were makeup, my face would be caked, right? But you can't see the mental work. People
Right.
can't see mental work. They can only see the result of the mental work.
Right.
So so it's okay to work on yourself. And I say of anything, take that the most serious because that's the one that leads to everything else. You
Yeah.
can't you don't have the time or the capacity to become a real estate investor if you can't get out of your own way in terms of the breakdowns that you have.
Yep. Hoan, I love it. You've given us so much value. That last nugget was so powerful too, because it's the element that creates all of your success. You could teach them the skills. I can teach them the skills, the techniques, all these elements, but without that mindset to achieve, that mindset to do whatever it takes, the mindset to be open to communication, to put ego aside, to win the deal and come to a win-win situation, not oh, if I don't, if they don't come down to this price, I've lost. Well, as long as you know your numbers, you're going to be fine. You don't have to win, right? If they came to your price, you don't have to ratchet them any further. You can have a win-win situation. But if you don't have that mentality of self-development and working on yourself, it really makes every deal going forward that much messier or muddier. It's like not having the systems in place, and as you scale, that damage is in there continuously, rotting out the house underneath. So it's how did you come to that? How did you realize?
I love that you just said that it's like the systems that you put in place, right? So in your own life, well, in my own life, I'm going to continue to speak from my point of view,
Yeah.
right? In my own life, I found that when I didn't have a system mentally to process things that were happening in my life, that my life would my brain would just spin out of control, and it would be scared, and it will retreat, it will make up all kinds of stories that make the situation seem worse than it really is. And like, I want to quit just like everybody else. I want to give up just like everybody else. It's difficult just like it is for everybody else, for me.
Yeah.
But I had to learn that, like, the breakdowns that I have seem to have a similar pattern. When they happen to me, they affect me in the same way. Like, you can actually feel pain in certain points. So like, it may be a pain point where I feel it in my head, or I'll feel it in my gut, or I'll feel it, and you almost have to just stop trying to fix everything, and you have to feel it first. And then you just get used to this pattern, and you get used to, like, knowing where it comes from, and then you can address it. Now, still a work in progress, but
Right.
if you want to get if you want to move forward in this life, if you want to get ahead in whatever it is that you're doing, you got to figure out where your breakdowns come from, see the patterns, and then stop falling for that same trap. Right? Your
Yeah.
brain is setting you up for failure a lot of times, because your brain doesn't know that what you're about to do is helpful or not helpful. So the best thing that we can do for ourselves is eat right and exercise. But we don't do it. Why? Because our brain tells us not to.
Right.
Why? Because it's lazy, because it's got things built into it that didn't say exercise was a good thing. Exercise wasn't a good thing when you were a caveman, because you're trying to conserve your energy. So your brain isn't always there to serve you. It's there to do what it thinks is best. And
Right.
sometimes what it thinks is best no longer applies. It's an old operating system,
Yeah.
right? But now we have this new operating system that's running parallel with the old one. The problem is the new one did not override the old one. They're
Right.
running in parallel. So you have these conflicting messages between your front and your back brain. And sometimes you just have to pause. When the back brain is screaming, you have to pause and then listen to the front one, and then allow the front one to outsmart the back one.
Yeah.
Like, it's gotta outsmart it. And I just kept having breakdowns in my life. I
Yeah.
just kept having breakdowns in my life. And you can only fall off the bike so many times before you learn how to balance.
Yep.
I mean, it's just by sheer necessity. I'm
Yep.
not this wise Yoda. I'm a person who had a lot of breakdowns. And by
You
having
know,
these breakdowns, that's what got me to this point.
Oh, and after this conversation, you do seem like a wise Yoda. So maybe wise Yoda just had a few breakdowns and, and
uh,
got to that point where it's like, you know what? I think I've got it. This little bit of maybe not everything, but Hoan, it sounds like you got a really good grasp on life. And I know that people have learned a lot from this. I've learned a lot from this, and your mentality is really powerful, really strong.
we didn't
So
even speak about real estate.
Oh, we're gonna go back to it. Don't you worry. I know you had a thing where you share your screen and you can draw a little house. So what was that presentation about?
Oh, I don't even actually have a presentation. I just wanted to, I mean, if we can go right, let me go right back to it. Here we
Yeah,
go.
man.
So let's see. Here we are back in my office, my fake
Yep.
office, right? And then because I was just in space, and then here we are, right?
Yeah.
And so for those who are following along, who are brand new in real estate or not yet in real estate, the reason that you want to be in real estate is one of two reasons, right? So it's either here's a big bag of money, right? So that's a lump sum payment, or you get a bunch of cash flow from rent, right? Those are the two main reasons why anybody invests in real estate: lump sum money or cash flow, plain and simple. So what I love about real estate is that I can buy a property, right? So let's say I bought this little house, and I bought this house for 100K. So without me doing anything, just by me owning it, and I own it, what happens is I get paid money, right? I get paid money from the tenant. So it doesn't cost me any money to own it. It actually makes me money. And then I can use other people's money, right? OPM, right? I can use other people's money to buy the house. So number one, I have no money out of my pocket. And then number two, I own this property that pays me instead of me paying it, right? Completely opposite of anything else that we own in life. Like if I have a cell phone, I pay for it, right? It doesn't pay me. I pay for it as long as I own it. And I might want to put a new case on it. I might want to buy a new charger. It's always just going to cost me money to own it longer. The house is opposite. It's paying me. Now, I know there's maintenance and stuff like that, but hopefully it's paid me enough to cover all of that. So I own the property. It pays me. But the magic of it all, the magic of it all is that over time, because of inflation, because of appreciation, because of whatever, the value will go up. Now, it might go up simply because the value of the dollar went down, but who cares? You own
Which
the
looks
asset.
like that's what's happening.
Right, right. You own the asset that pays you, and voila, it's amazing. It's like, here we go. So it just keeps on gaining in value, and by it gaining in value, you win.
Yep.
And it's simple, right? It's super simple. Just own assets.
Yep.
Own assets that cost you nothing to own, and as a bonus, it pays you, and hold them, and they rise in value. Now we can go into nitty gritty details of like, okay, so where did you get your OPM from? Like what money sources are you using? Things like that. And then we can also talk about, hey, Hoan, when you want to buy more properties, what do you do? Like, do you sell the ones you have? Do you 1031 exchange it? Do you use more OPM to buy it? Like at what, like how you do it? That's all strategy and stuff you learn. But if you boiled it all down, you own a property that gains in value and pays you cash flow.
Yep.
As simple as it is, right? And
Plain and
so
simple.
I mean, that's it, right? There's nothing to it really. Nothing
Hey,
to it.
Hoan,
Back in space.
you buy, yeah, I love it. So you buy one house a year for 5, 10 years, you're fucking rich. There's no getting
There you
around it,
go. That's
right?
it.
Like, no, obviously you got to learn the process, learn the systems, learn the skill sets. As you learn, you're not like 3 years into this, you're not just buying one house anymore. You can't help yourself. You're buying two, three, four, whatever it is. But that
Right.
first year, I think is the worst year. The first year is just, it's not even the buying of the house, it's the mental work to get to the point where you want to buy the house. And then once you've done that, then it's no big deal. And your mind kind of turns off this excitement factor, which should have been there afterwards instead of before. And, I think a lot of people stop at one when they should have, kept going. I think that you said something earlier that said, I wasn't really sure, like fake investors, right? Fake investors, they just own that condo that they lived in, and then
Right.
they go in, not that they're fake, it's just that they didn't go after
Intentional.
it. They're not intentional.
Not intentional.
And I remember when I started this, I in my head had this like messed up belief, but it kind of worked out for me. But it was a messed up belief of, unless I own three of these, like three is kind of whatever. Like I may just be somebody who bought a lot of real estate, but at four, that made me an investor for whatever reason.
That's fine.
I wanted that investor target, and like it kept me going. And then once you hit four, like you can buy a lot of real estate.
Right. So I had a similar rule when it came to mountain biking, right? So
Yep.
my friends and I, we got together, and I live in Philadelphia, and we have the art museum, the Philly Art Museum, right? The Rocky Steps and all. So on the side of the art museum, there was this huge ledge. It was probably like a 15-foot drop. And we had a rule that if you did something once, that could have been luck, but if you did it twice, then you can actually do it. So my friend jumped off the ledge with his mountain bike, landed just fine. And we were like, okay, well, you know the rule. That was luck. And so he had to go do it again if he wanted that to count.
Right.
And sure enough, he did it again. And so we're like, all right, you got that. Right.
That's
And then
yours.
here's the beauty of it. After he did it, because if you're standing on that ledge and you're looking down, you're just like, that is something else. I don't know if I want to do that. After he did it, I did it. And so did the rest of the people. Like we all did it. Right. And
Right.
then we're all doing it over and over. Now we're doing it without thinking. Now we're just like, oh, hey, check this out. Woo. Like
Yeah.
nothing. But having that person do it and then doing it twice back to back just to show you, I got this, guys. It's not that bad. It's like, oh, wow, that's awesome. So being
Right.
around other investors, it's like, okay, so, oh, so you have 10 properties? You have 20 properties? You have 30, like, how is that possible?
Yep.
Because most people come from the mindset of like, oh, I need a 20% down payment or 30% down payment, right? Okay, cool. I got enough money saved to buy one.
Right.
How do you buy two? Okay,
Right.
you might have had a lot of money and bought two, but how do you buy three? Like at some point
Yeah.
you run out of down payment money.
Yeah.
You got to learn the other ways of investing. You got to learn the other ways of being. And yeah, it's one of those things that if you surround yourself with the right people, it's way easier because 90% of this is mental, 10% is all strategy and paperwork and all that kind of stuff. That's the easy part. The hard part is the mental. Where are you going to have your breakdown? And what happens when you have your breakdown?
Yeah.
You quit?
No, and if you have the mindset, you can pay a coach to teach you the skill set, right? Like that's the unfair advantage you get in life. If you have the mindset right, you can just go pay somebody to hey, put a strategy together for me, right? That's what we do with our
Exactly.
accountants, right? Hey, go put a strategy together for
Yeah.
me, run it, and we'll make sure we pay you at the end of the year, right? Like there's people
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah, there are people for that, and that's a beautiful thing. What you just said there, I never heard it eloquently put that way. Which was, yeah, if you have the mind, or if you already have the mindset, you can just pay for the other stuff. Like, dang, that would have been great for me, right? I find that I'm like 80% of my day is spent on just fixing me.
Right.
The other 20%, it's like, okay, let's do the business now.
Right.
But I bring that up because the other thing is everybody has their own race and don't try to race other people.
Right.
Just keep doing what you know to do. Like if you're listening, guys, if you're listening to this recording, um, just keep doing what you know to do. And what that means is learn how to raise more money, learn how to use OPM better, learn how self-directed retirement accounts work, learn all that kind of stuff. Also work on yourself and just keep doing that day in and day out. And if you end up buying one property this year, great. And if you do that and it leads you to buy 10 properties next year, great. And if it leads you to buy two properties a year after that, don't beat yourself up over that. It's okay because maybe the deals didn't come your way. And the best deal sometimes is the deal you skipped out on,
Yep.
right? Because you're better off not buying something than buying something that was bad, because buying something that was bad or the numbers didn't work will actually set you back.
Yep.
And so don't do this thing that I hear a lot of people do. Oh, this year my goal is to buy 20 properties. It's
Right.
like, why?
The
Is
fuck
that
for?
yeah, like why? Like, okay, what happens after you buy 20?
Yeah.
So like the numbers don't matter in the sense of like how, because what if you bought 20 properties and they were all negative cash flow?
Right.
Like, did you win? No.
100, like exactly.
Yeah,
So
so don't do that.
when people talk about the unit game with me, and I'm like, why are we talking units? Right? Like, who cares? Right? Like my units count differently than Boston units or LA units or New
Exactly.
York units. So units, it's irrelevant. So then they'll say, oh, I want to have 500 units. You're just telling me how much you want to work, right? Or you're just telling me how much you want your property manager to work, like whatever that is. That's all you're telling me. And if you talk cash flow or residual, like now we can have a real conversation. Like this is what you're
Right.
looking for. Now it makes sense to me. And you're absolutely right. They're just setting up these arbitrary goals because they've never actually looked at the math and never actually
Right.
looked at it and said, this is what I actually want to create for myself. You may not even want rental property. It may come down to, right? You may not, like, it may come down to literally, I just want to make $8,000 a month. And if that was happening, I don't give a shit how it happens. Right.
Exactly. And Tony Robbins actually talks about that. He was like, you guys have a goal, but if you can achieve the result that you want without going through the plan that you set in place, would you be okay with that? And it's like, well, yeah, I'm just really after the goal and
Right.
whatever that goal is. And really, sometimes cash flow is the goal, but
Right.
then really it's the lifestyle that you think that the cash flow would equal is the goal. And you have to be really, really clear on that kind of stuff, right? Because otherwise you're just aiming for arbitrary goals. And if you hit them, you may be no better in this life than before you hit the goal.
You know, it's funny that you bring that up. I see it all the time. There are ways to have the things you want without spending money. And I talk about money all the time. I love making it. It's more of a game at this point,
Mm-hmm.
and I really enjoy it. And I love seeing the investments. And there's a lot of things that money can do for me, which buys that next stock, buys gold, buys the piece of real estate. So there's some things that it does do that excite me. but a lot of the things that you can enjoy in life really don't cost much other than being a decent human being, going and building good relationships and, connecting with the right people. And like those things don't cost anything. And so you're right. You've got to be clear about it. Like if you want to go zip line, maybe you just need to know a buddy who has a zip line, right?
Right.
It's not like super crazy to go, and you don't have to pay that $300 to go and do the zip line, right? It's like there's different levels to how bad do you want something, and money just allows you to do the things that you don't want to go build relationships for. Like I
Right.
don't really want to go build a relationship with a zip line guy, so okay, I'm just gonna go and pay him right now. Right?
Right, right. There was an interview that I saw where the person said, my goal is to become a billionaire. And it's like, okay, why? Right? Because they had this plan of becoming a billionaire and working really hard and exchanging 20 hours of their life every day to build this business 7 days a week.
Right.
And so the goal again was to become a billionaire. And the person goes, why? Well, I want to have a private jet and I want to have a yacht and I'm going to do this and that and all that kind of stuff. It's like, okay, where are you going to go with the private jet? And the person was like, oh, I'm going to go here and there and this, right? And then the person doing the interview actually was writing it down, right? It's like, okay, you're going to go here, here, here. Okay, cool. If you rented a private jet to go here for this long and do this and that and all that kind of stuff, and he added everything up, every bucket list item up. He
Yep.
was like, you only need $250,000.
Yep.
And it was like, wait, what? So
But
you
I
can,
don't have to be a billionaire.
I don't have to be a billionaire, but I can still hit every one of my bucket list items.
Yep.
And I don't have to trade 20 hours of my life for it. So that's the thing, right? A lot of people, now I don't know if you're in this or not, but there's this 5 a.m. club, right?
I don't subscribe.
Okay.
I've seen 5 a.m. before, but I wasn't waking up.
And I sometimes feel bad for not being in this 5 a.m.
Yeah.
club, right? And
Yeah.
I talk to all these very successful people, and they're like, Hoan, if you want this and this and all, you got to work and you got to wake up early and you got to do this. And I'm thinking like, yeah, so sometimes I think, yeah, I do want all of that stuff, right? I want all of that money. I want all that stuff. But do I want that lifestyle? Do I really want that lifestyle? And the answer was always no. It was kind of like, hey, Hone, do you want this promotion at my job? And the answer was actually no, I don't. It equals more money, but I
Right.
don't want to trade my life because like I like my life. Like
Right.
I go mountain biking whenever like during the week, right? And when I go mountain biking, I go to the ski lifts,
Nice.
like during the summertime, the slopes turn into mountain bike parks.
That's
And
awesome.
you throw your mountain bike onto the lift and you bring
Yep.
your bike to the top and you bomb down, right? So on the weekends, those lift lines get really long. On the weekdays, you bomb down the mountain, you're the first one back on the lift, like immediately, right?
Yep.
That's a lifestyle that I enjoy a lot,
Yeah.
right? That's a lifestyle that I enjoy a lot. And I love that I'm still able, young enough and able to do so,
Right.
right? Because I don't want to postpone these years while my hip doesn't break easily,
Yeah.
while I can bounce back if I fall. Like I want to be able to do that kind of stuff because I love it. Like in terms of life, it's like do what you love, right? Do what you love. Great. What hobbies do you love? And are you doing those?
Yep.
And if I'm always working, the answer is no. Even if I'm working for myself, if I'm not doing the hobbies that I love, then it's like, damn, I missed a point.
Yeah. You miss
And
some checkbox in life, and
yeah,
there was no reason to.
right. Right. So no regrets, right? And I'm not a part of the 5 a.m. club. So for the record, I've tried. I've
Yeah.
tried many times, and people are like, just do it. And you're right, I could. But
Yeah.
when I wake up, here's the problem: when I wake up at 5, I want to fall asleep at 8, and at 3 o'clock, I'm not worth anything, and so
Right.
it's like I just operate just poorly. But when I wake up at whatever time I wake up, I find that I'm very productive. I'm very effective. It's not about trading time. It's about getting things done.
Yep.
And so, kind of like that whole Tony Robbins thing, if you could have what you wanted now without doing what you were about to do, would that be okay? And if the answer is yes, then I'm winning because I have a lot of what I want without having to do all the stuff that I thought I needed to do. So, a
Right.
lot of people will make you feel bad for not following their plan.
Yep.
But if the result is there, who cares what plan you use to get there?
100%. Hon, phenomenal advice. I wish more people could hear this because I think that people beat themselves up for not waking up early. You know, you go to any success seminar and they'll say, you know, I'll ask them, why aren't you successful? I don't wake up early enough. Are you shitting me? Like, that is not the reason. You just you don't know what you want. Like, that's, if we're gonna be real, you don't know what you want. You don't want it bad enough. Like, one of those two reasons.
Right.
And, like, that's okay, you know, but it's not because you're not waking up.
Right. Because you can wake up, and I actually posted about this a long time ago. If you wake up at 5 and you're useless until 9,
Yeah,
like you might as well have just stayed in bed. Like
100%.
scrolling on Facebook and all of that, like for 4 hours doesn't make you a more successful person.
Right.
Right. So you have to know yourself and also when you work best. If you're terrible at 5, then you might as well stay in bed and wake up when you're really good.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's just about being effective, meaning actually getting the results. It has nothing to do with the process. It's about getting the results at the end.
And I think the only way somebody could find that is to be financially free, to get out of the 9 to 5, get to a job or income source where you control it. And now where it controls you, not saying, you know, quit your job and jump into another self-employed position, but like actual financial freedom, cutting your expenses down, getting a really long runway, and being able to, you know, having that savings put in place allows you the ability to discover what you work best at. Most people are not operating at their optimal level. And Hoan, I know you're busy, so I've taken a lot of your time today, but I got to ask what is the 3 pieces before we jump off of this, the 3 pieces that if you go back to 20-year-old Hoan and just say, hey, these are the 3 things that are most important to make you successful and happy. Just run with these and you'll get everything that I have faster and more easily. What 3 pieces of advice would you give a young 20-year-old right now?
Number 1, I would say, is to treat everybody as if you had fallen into a well, and you know how you're stuck in a well and you're looking up and you're screaming, help, help, right? You don't care whose face pops up looking down. It does not matter at that point. Help, help, I need to get out of the well, right? Treat everybody as if they were that face at the top of the well, right? Treat everybody that way, because the people you become friends with in your 20s, they become your business partners, your private money lenders, and your allies when you're in your 30s and your 40s in a big way. So treat everybody that way, not just because you want something from them, but I mean, it's just the right thing to do, right? You want to be known as just being a kind person. There's enough people out there who are angry. So if you can add a bit of kindness, then that's fantastic. So a good way, again, is just to remember that you could be in a well, a metaphoric well, and looking up, and you don't know whose face is going to pop up. And if it's somebody who you like wronged in the past, or if whatever, right? And you look up and it's their face, you're like, damn. So
Shit.
yeah, I messed that one up, right?
God
So
damn it.
you just
Guess we're
never
still
know.
down here.
Right. Imagine somebody you had like a feud with, like in your 20s, they become a doctor and they're your doctor at your 40s, and they're like the number 1 surgeon and you need this thing done. Do you pick a different surgeon? Like you don't want to deal with those questions, right? You
Right.
don't
Yeah.
want to deal with that situation. So do your best. It's hard, but just do your best to be good to everybody that you meet, because it comes around, right? People, if you want more money, it comes from other people. If you want a better lifestyle, it comes from hanging with other people. Like it's people. That's everything. Money isn't just self-generated. It comes from sale of a house. It comes from renting of an apartment. It comes from, and who's paying that? The person on the other side. So
Right.
just be, and it's a skill. Being kind is a skill. So the more you work on it, the more kind you are to other people, the better you'll get at it. Like that's just not taught or talked about at all. That the fact that you can actually become kinder, and it's a skill that you need to work on actively.
Yep. I
Right.
love that.
Yeah. So that's one. Look at everybody as a well, like you're at the bottom of a well.
It needs an explanation, but
Yeah, but I think with the story, it helps because now you can actually envision that. You can
yeah,
actually see
powerful.
yourself at that bottom, and you can see their face. And then the beauty of it being a well, it kind of looks like a halo is around them, right? Because you're in a dark well and you're looking up and they're glowing. It's kind of
Yep.
like this background, right? This background
Right.
of that, you know how it's glowing? It'll
Yeah.
look
A
kind of like
little.
that. Yeah, kind of like that, right? The other advice is the whole thing about fire aim ready. Here's a pop quiz for you. A more story, right? So imagine fear, right? Imagine fear is like a monster, right? Picture fear, and it could be the letters FEAR, right? And it's a monster, and it's got a big mouth. What does fear eat?
Fear eats
What
time.
does fear eats time? Absolutely,
Yeah.
right? And so the more time you give it, the bigger it gets. So for those listening, picture this fear monster eating time. If you want to get anything done, act faster so that you give your fear less food. And if you do that, you'll get things done. You'll have more experiences. You'll develop more skills. You'll be more resourceful. Like people are amazing in the fact that we have the ability to figure things out. The fact that we're on Zoom, live, talking, internet, like the whole thing, that's amazing. That's like human ingenuity. So you as a person, you being human as well, know that if you agree to something, that you have the power to figure it out. Don't think you need to have all of the answers beforehand. Say yes and then figure it out. Don't go, let me think about it. Let me study first. Let me do everything that I need to do and have every box checked off, because by then fear is going to be huge. So give fear less time, fire, aim, ready. Right. So that would
All of
be
that.
the second advice. Third one, man, I'm just kind of making them up as I go along. Um, the third one would be around, I guess it would be kind of the stories that I was telling earlier. It's being okay with you. Okay, now I got a better one. Be authentic. Okay, so this message is all around being authentic. A lot of times I found myself trying to be somebody else because I thought I needed to be that way in order to achieve what they have. And now there is something to say about modeling, and it's like, okay, if somebody is successful, then model what they do. But notice it's model what they do, not who they are. Okay. So if somebody dresses a certain way and says things a certain way, you can model that, sure. But you still need to be authentic to who you think you are and your being, right? Because we are human beings, not human doings, right? So as a human being, if you're playful as a natural habit, then don't think that you have to be serious in order to become successful, because look at comedians. Comedians have turned their ability to make people laugh and have a good time, and they're like just have go lucky go, or whatever the saying is, right? Just being happy,
Yeah.
right? And they've been able to turn that into a multi-million-dollar empire. I just posted about Adam Sandler. He's
Yep.
worth $420 million. $420 million, and he does comedy.
Yep.
And what I found that was really crazy is that most of his movies like bombed. So the way he acquired most of that money actually came from Netflix. A lot of people don't know this, but his contracts with Netflix. He did he did 4 movies for Netflix for $250 million,
Wow.
and the 4 movies all bombed. But what did Netflix do? They signed another contract with him for another $250 million,
Yep.
right? And he signed, and why? It's because he's authentic to himself, and even though the movie bombed, it attracted eyeballs. Like people kept watching his stuff. His movies rank in the top 10 and sometimes number 1 of most viewed movies in Netflix.
Yep.
So Netflix decided to re-up his contract, and actually they're thinking about re-upping his contract again for 500 million. And again, it's like, yeah, you're a goofball, you're the class clown. Great, embrace that.
Right.
Be authentic to who you are. Like, so when I first got on here, I said to you, I don't love real estate. I'm not faking it. I'm not this person who's telling you that, oh, I love real estate and I eat, breathe, and blah, blah, and 5 a.m. club and all. I told you straight from the get-go
Yeah.
that I don't like real estate. And then I tell you later that I'm not the 5 a.m. club guy either. I'm who I am, but I'm okay with being that person.
Yeah.
And then what's going to happen is that people can see through fake. And because I've been so real and so transparent, people are going to be like, I don't know what it is, but I like that guy because everybody likes real,
That's right.
right? And so then you're going to get followers for you being you, and you're going to lose followers when you try to be someone else.
Exactly. You want to be as polarizing in life as possible.
Yeah.
Be your
Yeah.
100% self and just be okay with losing people, because one third will love you no matter what, one third will hate you no matter what, and one third doesn't even notice you. They don't care one way or the other.
Right. Right. And if you get 51% to like you, you can be the president.
That's it's funny. Donald Trump is quoted as saying, "If you get half the America to hate you, you can be the president." You're
Right.
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 The other side of it is, 51% to like you or vote for you, and you win. It's that
You're
simple.
right. Right. And remember, guys, this is your life.
Yeah,
And if you hate every moment of it, but you think this is what you need to do in order to be successful, you've already failed.
one
So
hundred
don't
percent.
don't do things that are just not in alignment with who you are as a person. Like for me, I have my engineering background, so numbers are a big thing in my life. Like it's just natural for me to like numbers, and so I do the real estate thing because it aligns with me. But and I also like other things, and I do those things too. But what I don't like is being fake with people. And I find that in corporate America, you have to suck up to people and wear these
Wear the
different,
suit,
yeah, wear the suit, wear the
wear the
mask.
face. Yeah,
Exactly. And I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that for long. Right. And every time I was inauthentic to myself, I struggled. I hated life. Every time I was free to be me, I loved life.
I
Right.
love it. Hoan,
Yeah.
what a powerful message to end it on. I appreciate your time so much. If somebody wants to learn more about Hoan Tai, go to hoansloans.com, or you can send them an email at hoansloans at
Hoan
Gmail.
at, yeah, Hoan at hoansloans.com. Hoan at,
Hoan,
Hoan,
go ahead.
Hoan at hoansloans.com. Or you can check out my website at truthaboutrei.com. Or as you said, you can go to hoansloans.com as well. A
And
bunch of
he's
different
also on
ways.
Facebook and LinkedIn and all those other websites. But I'm sure if you want to reach out to Hoan, he's just looking to give value. He may talk more about your mindset than real estate, but trust me, that's what you need to learn about. Thank you, Hoan, so much. I appreciate your time. We definitely want to build this relationship and do this again very soon, because I think what you have to deliver as a message is so important to people out there. So thank you so much for your time today, brother.
Hey, man, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Hey, when you have a choice, always work with the best. Cheers to your success. Talk to you soon, man.